Hey everyone, RogueGold here. Welcome back to the Division 2, and today I've got a pretty good one for you. So, as we all know, TU20 was the most recent major update for the game back in February, its biggest highlight feature being Project Resolve. And among other things, Resolve went around bug fixing and tweaking various different aspects of the game across different modes, difficulties, you name it. Now, one such tweak and adjustment that I had heard whispers of but had yet to check out myself was Floor 100 of the Summit. Now, for one, they did finally fix the lighting on the first half of the floor. Previously, it had been either extremely over or underexposed depending on where you were standing. That's now been patched out, which is awesome. But the more important change that was made was to the Hunter battle in the final section of the floor. If you've done Floor 100 of the Summit before, you'll know that the far and away best strat, or at least the safest and most reliable one, was to spawn the hunters in and then fall back to the lobby area and slowly take the fight as they eventually funnel into that room one by one. Well, as of TU20, that strat is no longer viable. And that's due to the fact that the game now requires all group members to be in the room with the hunters for them to spawn, upon which those lobby doors slam shut. Basically, you're now forced to be in the room with the hunters for the entirety of the fight, and that dramatically spikes the difficulty of the encounter. With the geography of that room, the amount of skills, traps, and other lethals that the hunters will throw at you, it's arguably one of the more difficult fights in the entire game depending on your group size and the difficulty you're playing on. So all of that is to say, I've been getting requests for the past few weeks now to do a guide on some recommended tactics for how to handle this new mechanic of the Floor 100 fight, and after some time, I finally climbed my way up there in order to do just that. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing the build my team used to defeat the hunters, what kinds of general strategy we went for, and show you our heroic difficulty clear of the new Floor 100. So, if that sounds good, then strap in and let's get right to it. Alright, so first up, let's take a look at the build. This is what me and my teammate ran. It was a duo run of Floor 100. This is what we used, and I'm sure the first thought you're gonna have is, oh my goodness, you're using the worst, community voted worst exotic in the game, the Rugged Gauntlets? Yeah, we did. And the reason why is because the thing about Floor 100, the way that room is laid out, there are just so many different angles. Not only is there kind of a lack of good cover or places that you can't get flanked around from, but as soon as you pick up to shoot one of the hunters, one of the other 2, 3, 4, however many people you have in your group is going to shoot you. And so my thought was, well, if we can just utilize blind fire and wait for them to get close to us, then we minimize our risk of being shot from one of those other angles or whatever else could possibly happen. And so yeah, these help you get that done pretty darn well. By using Striker and the Bullet King, we're able to never have to reload, continue firing, and get a lot of damage all from blind firing over cover, which again, reduces the risk that we're going to die from other sources. So it's a pretty straightforward build. Again, the Bullet King, you never have to reload. This is a pretty easy exotic to grab if you don't have it. I'm using a rifle as my secondary, but I never pulled it out once in the fight, so don't worry about that. We're using 4 pieces of Striker, which again is a very popular and easy to come by gear set. We have crit damage rolled everywhere on every piece here, and we have Striker using for the backpack, so we get the 1% per stack, and the chest piece so that we can get 200 stacks total. Other than that, again, the Rugged Gauntlets, and then I'm using the Fox's Prayer as my last piece. You don't have to use this if you want to use a piece of Grupo Sombra, of Seska, of whatever else is going to give you a good amount of high damage, multiplicative or just crit, whatever, slot it in here. Then for the specialization and skills, I'm using Gunner. You don't have to. You could do something else if you wanted to, but because it just gives you extra weapon handling when you're not moving, and that's typically what we tried to do with this build, it works out pretty well. Because of that, we do also get to use the Banshee Pulse, which is very nice when the hunters do push you up close. You can stun them, just start blind firing, and usually they're going to back off because of the amount of damage they're taking. So that works really well, and then additionally we used decoys for whenever we weren't EMP'd or locked down like that. We could throw these out, give them a brief distraction, and then we're able to get even more damage in. Alright, here we go. I'm just going to commentate over some of this gameplay so that you get an idea of what we're doing. The first thing you'll see me do is go down and just show you all that the doors do indeed close once the hunters spawn in. So yeah, you can no longer stand back in that room. The first thing we then do is head up to the very right side of the map. Now this and the left side both are the highest ground within the arena, and so ideally that's where you would want to be because it means that there is no other angles that the hunters could potentially get to shoot down on you. At the very least, they're going to be on the same ground as you if they do push you up there. Assuming you were using this same Rugged Gauntlets build, then my best advice is don't peek. Right? Just stay in cover once you're up there and wait for one of them to push you and then blind fire away. And that's what we do. We kind of go down on this end and one of them rushes up the escalator, and as soon as he does, I think I stun him, and then we just burn him with the hip fire using the Rugged Gauntlets and the Bullet King, and with 2 of those beams of 200 Striker stacks going, he goes down pretty quick. And that's kind of the whole thing to this entire strategy, is that if you can minimize your risk and exposure of being shot or hit by their skills or whatever, and you can just hit them once they get up to you with that safety fire, the blind fire over cover, hip fire, whatever, then that's the best way you're going to get it done. Now later on here we did get a bit impatient because they weren't pushing our side, but just know you don't need to do that. You can take as long as you want on this floor and wait for them to come to you. As I said, we got impatient, so we pushed over to the left side. I went down at one point, but now we're over here fighting this other one. We kind of go back and forth with him a little bit, throw some stuff at us. He then jumps down and I'm able to finish him off down there. And then after that, we are on to the third and final hunter. At that point, we are a bit more patient. We're just waiting for the right opportunity. We get our decoys out and you'll see what happens.
System malfunctioning. System back online.
And there you have it, folks. That is my guide and overall recommendations for the revamped Floor 100 experience in the Summit game mode. I just want to stress one final time, as I tried to point out throughout the video, in no way am I saying that this is the only way to complete Floor 100. I'm sure you've got your usual badasses out there running out with their glass cannon rifle builds and two-tapping hunters in the face. You've always got those crazy protection from elites builds, but I figured many of you would appreciate a more surefire, slower paced method, and the build we used in particular should be a bit easier to put together compared to some others. But with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed and found this helpful. If so, a like would be greatly appreciated, and if you want to stay up to date on all of my future guides and coverage on The Division 2, then be sure to click that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on everything that we went over. What do you think of the change made to Floor 100, now requiring you to go into the arena with the hunters? And if you've already attempted this, then what builds and tactics work best for you? As always, I look forward to reading through all of your thoughts below, and that's going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Out.